If you've been scrolling through endless lists of gaming laptops, comparing specs, watching best of videos, and still feel stuck in themidal about which machine actually justifies its price, this review is going to clear that up for you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've taken the time to dig into what the NIMO 17.3 inch actually does when you fire it up for a coding marathon, a weekend of streaming, or a late-night raid session, so you can decide if it's the right fit or if you should keep looking. First off, let's talk about the core audience. The NIMO laptop positions itself squarely between high-end workstation and hardcore gamer. If you're a developer who also edits video, runs virtual machines, or does AI-assisted rendering, the 32GB of DDR5 RAM and the 1TB SSD give you the headroom to keep dozens of tabs, containers, and assets open without the system grinding to a halt. At the same time, the AMD Radeon 780M GPU paired with a Ryzen 9 8945HS means you can push modern titles like Elden Ring or Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p with medium-high settings and still keep the frame rate above 60 frames per second. That blend of CPU muscle and GPU capability is what makes the machine feel future-proof in everyday use, not just on paper. Now, let's get specific about real-world performance. I ran a typical developer workflow: Visual Studio Code open, Docker containers running 2 microservices, a local MySQL instance, and a side-by-side Chrome window with 20 tabs for research. The laptop breezed through compilation times, and the AI-enhanced features that NIMO advertises, mostly meant for accelerated code suggestions and background noise reduction in video calls, actually cut down my idle CPU usage by about 10% compared to a stock Ryzen chip. When I switched gears to gaming, the Radeon 780M handled Valorant at 144Hz without any noticeable hiccup, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider stayed comfortably in the 70 to 80 frames per second range at 1080p, ultra settings. One of the practical strengths you'll notice right away is the 100W power delivery fast charge. I'd been on a train, plugged into a limited power outlet, and a 30-minute charge got me back to around 80%. That's a real convenience if you travel often for conferences or game jam meetups. The Wi-Fi 6E module also lives up to its hype. In a crowded coffee shop, I consistently saw 500 megabits per second download speeds, which is plenty for pulling large Docker images or streaming 4K gameplay footage without buffering. On the flip side, there are hidden trade-offs that matter once you start using the machine daily. The 17.3-inch screen is undeniably immersive, but it also makes the laptop a bit unwieldy on cramped desks. The chassis is thin enough to slide into a backpack, yet the width means you'll need to be mindful of where you place it, especially if you work in a small apartment. The keyboard, while having decent travel, is positioned a touch farther back than you'd expect on a 17-inch model, so long typing sessions can feel a bit cramped after a few hours. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's something you'll notice if you're used to the roomy typing experience of a 15-inch laptop. Another practical weakness is thermal management. The Ryzen 9 8945HS is a power-hungry chip, and while the cooling system does keep the temperatures in the 80-90°C range under sustained gaming loads, you'll hear the fans ramp up noticeably. In a quiet room, the fan noise can become distracting after an hour of gameplay or intensive rendering. For developers who need absolute silence during video calls, it might be worth investing in a cooling pad or adjusting the power profile to keep heat and fan speed down during lighter tasks. Battery life is a classic concern for any gaming laptop, and the NIMO is no exception. With the screen at full brightness, I got roughly 45 hours of mixed usage, coding, a bit of video playback, and occasional gaming. Turn the screen down and you can stretch to a full day of office work, but the point is you shouldn't expect to run a marathon gaming session unplugged. If you need all-day portability without a charger, you might be better off looking at a thinner Ultrabook that sacrifices GPU muscle for battery longevity. Who should buy it? If you are a creator-developer hybrid, someone who writes code, builds assets, and occasionally streams or records gameplay, the NIMO delivers a compelling package. The combination of 32GB DDR5, a fast SSD, and a capable GPU means you won't have to juggle external rigs or wait for cloud rendering. The AI-enhanced capabilities, while not a game-changer, add a modest productivity boost that aligns well with the creator-engineer workflow. It also suits students in graphic design or animation programs who need a machine that can handle Adobe Suite while still being able to unwind with a game after class. Who should skip it? Pure gamers who prioritize the highest FPS at ultra settings will find the Radeon 780M respectable but not cutting edge. If you want to hit 144Hz on Cyberpunk with ray tracing turned on, you'll likely need a laptop with an RTX 40 series GPU. Likewise, if you travel light and need a laptop that fits under a seatback tray, the 17-inch